The mysterious delivery. It all started with a knock at the door of Donald Trump's Florida estate, Mar-a-Lago, early one morning. The former president had just sat down for breakfast when Secret Service agents intercepted an unusual package addressed directly to him. No return address. No sender information. It was a small military-style wooden box with a digital lock, but it was far from ordinary. The box was handcrafted with dark, polished oak, reinforced with black metal corners, and sealed tightly with a lock that looked more suited to a government facility than a personal delivery. On the top, burned into the wood, was an insignia, an eagle gripping lightning bolts, encircled by stars, but it wasn't any current military logo. The symbol resembled something between a secret program seal and a forgotten Black Ops badge. Just below the eagle, in etched gold, were the words, "For President Donald J. Trump, eyes only." Security immediately moved into action. The box was run through 2 levels of scanning. No explosives, no biological traces, no radiological residue. It was clean, but that only made it more suspicious. Trump, seated at a long table near the window, wearing his signature red tie and dark blue suit, looked up as the box was carefully brought into the room. He pushed his plate aside, narrowed his eyes, and said, "Who sent it?" His lead security agent responded, "No signature, sir. Hand-delivered by a uniformed courier with a retired military ID. Verified, but not traceable. He left before anyone could ask questions." Trump leaned in, studying the box without touching it. "Let me see that emblem again," he said, motioning to turn the box slowly. The image triggered something in his memory. A conversation. A name. A warning. He didn't say out loud yet, but it was clear he was connecting dots. Those in the room felt it too, a weight in the air, a kind of tension that only comes when something truly unexpected breaks into routine. In a place like Mar-a-Lago, unexpected deliveries were rare, especially those with no trace of origin and security this tight. "Where's the log?" Trump asked. "Who was on duty when this came through?" "There's no record in the standard system," one aide replied. But a security camera caught the man placing the box into the hands of our gate detail. Facial recognition failed. Either he's not in the system or he's been scrubbed. Now everyone was silent. Trump looked at the box again, and this time leaned back in his chair. "I know who sent this," he said quietly. The room froze. A few heads turned, unsure whether to ask. But Trump went on without prompting. Raymond Beckett. That name meant nothing to most of the staff present, but to the security team and intelligence advisors, it sent a chill down their spines. General Raymond Beckett wasn't just a retired U.S. Air Force officer. He was a ghost, a former Black Operations commander known for leading missions so classified that even presidents weren't fully briefed. He disappeared from public records after retiring 5 years ago, reportedly after a controversial Arctic operation, went dark and left more questions than answers. Trump had met Beckett during his presidency. They had talked late one evening in a secure room after a restricted intelligence briefing. Beckett had told Trump things that weren't in any official file. Unusual craft spotted over secure air zones. Missions that never made it to the record books. Electromagnetic anomalies no one could explain. And then Beckett had said something strange. "If I ever send you something, don't ask why. Just open it yourself, and only when the time is right." Now here it was. The box. No one could deny the tension in the room as Trump's team examined the digital lock. It was unlike anything they had seen. Not a standard fingerprint or passcode system, but a hybrid encryption module with an analog failsafe. A small red light blinked slowly. "Dormant. Waiting. Run it through EM shielding and keep it under live surveillance," Trump ordered. "I want eyes on it 24/7. No one touches it unless I say so." His tone was firm. He wasn't treating this like a prank or some stunt. He knew something was coming. Something big. The former president stood up and paced for a moment, thinking. "This isn't about politics," he said. "This is about something else, something we were never supposed to know." Outside, the Florida sun was shining brightly. But inside Mar-a-Lago, the atmosphere had turned cold, as if the delivery of the box had pulled a shadow from the past into the present. The question was no longer just who sent it, But why now? And what was inside that was important enough for a man like Raymond Beckett to break years of silence? The box sat in the center of the room, motionless, silent, but it was already rewriting the mood in Mar-a-Lago, and soon it might do the same to the entire world. The man behind the box. The box came from General Raymond Beckett, a name known only in the uppermost circles of military intelligence. Beckett had retired from the U.S. Air Force 5 years earlier, after leading top-secret aerial missions that even presidents weren't fully briefed on. Some say he disappeared from public life on purpose. Others claim he's been working on something big ever since. To most Americans, the name Raymond Beckett meant nothing. But to those inside military think tanks, the Pentagon Special Access Programs, SAPs, and the classified rooms beneath Langley, it sent shivers down the spine. Beckett wasn't just another decorated general. He was an architect of shadow warfare, a commander trusted with missions so sensitive that only a handful of people on Earth were ever told the full scope. During his decades of service, Beckett operated in the gray zones of war, overseeing surveillance projects in Earth's orbit, commanding stealth aerial drones invisible to radar, and coordinating with private contractors on weapon systems that were never officially acknowledged. He was a ghost with stars on his shoulder, respected, feared, and above all, secretive. What made Beckett particularly unique wasn't just his skill in aerial strategy or defense innovation. It was his obsession with anomalies. Colleagues recall his deep fascination with unexplainable phenomena, objects moving at impossible speeds, sudden disruptions in military radar systems, and unidentified craft that seemed to appear and vanish without trace. Over the years, whispers about Beckett's involvement in non-conventional encounters became more than just rumor. His final years of service were filled with unfiled missions and restricted briefings, many involving airspace incursions that no enemy nation ever claimed. When he retired abruptly in 2020, no one knew why. One week he was scheduled to attend a strategic weapons conference in Germany. The next, he had vanished from the public eye. His name was quietly removed from every upcoming event. His Pentagon credentials were deactivated. No farewell ceremony. No speeches. Just silence. And for 5 years that silence lasted. Until now. The appearance of the box at Mar-a-Lago marked Beckett's first known communication with anyone from his past life. He had gone off-grid, living without a digital footprint, unreachable by even the most persistent intelligence queries. His personal records remained locked down, his home sold, his phone numbers deactivated. Friends were told nothing. Former colleagues stopped asking. But behind closed doors, there were signs Beckett was still watching. 2 weeks before the mysterious box appeared in Trump's hands, satellite images revealed an unauthorized aircraft landing at the Tonopah Test Range Airport in Nevada, a remote base often used for classified flight testing. A tall, bald man, wearing civilian clothes and aviator glasses, was photographed stepping out of the aircraft and entering a hangar. The image wasn't crystal clear, but analysts were almost certain it was Beckett. He was seen holding a briefcase. A few hours later, he left, and the base denied any knowledge of the visit. The coincidence was too strong to ignore. Intelligence chatter began to spike. Some believed Beckett was in possession of material that even the Pentagon had lost control of. A few reports mentioned a program named Project Arcturus, an abandoned initiative from the late 2010s focused on identifying unidentified aerospace threats over polar regions. Beckett had been its original director before the project was quietly shelved, its findings buried in classified archives. So why would Beckett, a man who avoided politics, media, and even his peers, choose to send this mysterious box to Donald Trump? Some say Beckett trusted Trump more than anyone in Washington. They had met during the early days of Trump's presidency, during a private intelligence debrief where Beckett allegedly warned of a disruption in global skies that would one day become too big to hide. Trump, reportedly intrigued, listened intently and gave Beckett one instruction. If it ever becomes something real, bring it straight to me. That moment may have planted the seed. Perhaps Beckett, seeing the signs, decided the time had come, not to go through traditional channels, not through Congress or the current White House, but directly to the one man who had promised to listen when no one else would. Now, As Trump and his advisor stared down at the mysterious box, the realization settled in like a storm cloud. Beckett was sending a message. Not with words, not with speeches, but with proof. The question wasn't just what was inside the box. It was what Beckett knew, what he had seen, and why he was willing to risk everything to share it now, in a single, silent delivery. Whatever Beckett had uncovered, he believed it was too dangerous to remain hidden any longer. And Donald Trump had just become the keeper of that truth. The code and the countdown. After the box was secured in a private study, Trump's closest advisors and a trusted military technician were called in. The atmosphere inside Mar-a-Lago shifted from cautious curiosity to full-scale alert. The box, mysterious in design and heavy in implications, now sat at the center of a sealed-off room, guarded by both physical security and technological countermeasures. But no one was prepared for what would happen next. As the technician examined the front panel, the digital lock suddenly blinked. A tiny screen embedded just above the locking mechanism lit up for the first time. Words appeared, followed by an ominous beep. Authorized access initiated. Time remaining, 47 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. A countdown had begun. 48 hours. And no indication of what would happen when the clock hit zero. Trump, leaning in over the table, furrowed his brow. What happens when the timer runs out? He asked sharply. The technician shook his head. It's not standard military encryption. This is custom. Looks like a self-lock protocol. Once the countdown ends, it may become permanently sealed or destroy its own contents. What kind of military box self-destructs? One advisor asked. The kind that holds something it was never meant to carry, the technician replied gravely. A sense of urgency filled the room. Whatever was inside wasn't just confidential, it was time-sensitive. Beckett had deliberately built a mechanism to force a decision. This wasn't a gift, nor was it a suggestion. It was a challenge. Over the next several hours, Trump's inner circle pored over every inch of the box. Scanners showed no explosives, no biohazards, and no electromagnetic interference. But attempts to bypass the lock through brute force were dismissed immediately. You crack it wrong, said the technician. You might trigger a data wipe or worse. The digital lock had one key input field, 8 digits. No fingerprint scan, no keyhole, just a blinking cursor and a single prompt. Input authorization code. It was clear that the code had to be something only Trump, or someone with shared knowledge, could enter. Beckett had designed this with intention. That much was clear. He wasn't just protecting the contents from enemies. He was directing them toward someone he trusted to remember. Trump stepped forward, arms crossed, thinking out loud. Beckett always talked in riddles. Always said the real secrets don't live in vaults. They live in memories. His mind raced back to the late-night conversation in the White House Situation Room. A private moment, no cameras, no aides. Beckett had told him about an incident in Alaska. Something to do with a silent object that mirrored every jet's movement like a shadow. At the time, Trump had brushed it off as crazy science fiction. Now it felt like a clue. Try Alaska 20, Trump said. The screen buzzed. Access denied. The advisor next to him flinched. Careful. Too many wrong tries might trigger a lockout. Then Trump remembered something else. Beckett had mentioned a code name, Arcturus, the name of a red giant star and allegedly the name of a mission. Trump snapped his fingers. It wasn't the location, he muttered. It was the sky. He typed in Arcturus. The screen buzzed again. Access denied. Frustration began to rise. Then Trump paused. Wait, he said slowly. Beckett said one thing that stuck with me. He said, what can't be seen can still leave a shadow. Everyone was quiet. What if the code isn't a name but a moment? Trump looked at the technician. Is it possible the code is numeric only? Yes, sir. Try 11092017. Trump said, the date of the Alaska briefing Beckett gave him at the White House. The technician entered it. Processing. The red light blinked once. Then twice. Access granted. A loud mechanical click echoed through the room. The lock disengaged with a hiss of compressed air. The digital screen shut off. The countdown froze. with 41 hours and 17 minutes left. Everyone in the room took a step back as Trump slowly opened the lid. Inside, nestled in a foam casing, were three objects. A matte black titanium USB drive labeled Project Arcturus, a handwritten envelope sealed with red wax, and a photograph, grainy, black and white, but unmistakably strange. The photo showed an object, oval-shaped metallic with no wings or rotors, hovering above what appeared to be a snowy Arctic landscape. In the corner of the image, partially blurred, was a timestamp and the words Arcturus 7, followed by Beckett's initials. Trump picked up the letter, broke the seal, and began to read in silence. As his eyes moved down the page, his expression hardened. "This changes everything," he whispered. Everyone in the room waited, but Trump gave no further details. He carefully placed the letter back in the box and turned to his team. "No one leaves this room. Not yet. Not until we know what we're dealing with." Outside, the day continued as normal, but inside Mar-a-Lago, the clock had stopped, and a secret 5 years in the making had just begun to unfold. Inside the box, inside, resting on dark velvet, were three items. A titanium USB drive marked Project Arcturus, a sealed handwritten letter, a photograph of an unidentified aerial object with military markings. The room fell silent. No one spoke for a full 10 seconds. Even the faint hum of the air conditioning seemed to disappear. It wasn't just what was inside the box. It was what these objects represented. They weren't just clues. They were declarations, signals, messages left by a man who had vanished from the world, only to return through silence and shadows. Trump picked up the USB drive first. It was ice cold to the touch, sleek and polished. The words Project Arcturus were etched deeply into the surface, not printed, but engraved like it was meant to last a century. There was no branding, no barcode, no military classification tag. Nothing that connected it to any official government system. It was as if the device existed in a world outside paperwork, beyond jurisdiction. "This isn't standard issue," one of the advisors murmured, leaning in. "This is custom. Military grade, sure, but off the books." Trump nodded and set the drive down carefully. He then turned to the letter. It was sealed in old-fashioned red wax, the kind used in intelligence communications decades ago, with the same eagle and lightning insignia pressed into it. Trump cracked it open, unfolding the thick paper slowly. It was handwritten in ink, each word clearly written with precision, as if the author knew it might be read by history itself. The letter was from Beckett. "Mr. President, if you're reading this, then I've disappeared, and I likely won't return. There are things I've discovered that go beyond national borders, beyond politics, even beyond our planet. I've stayed silent for years, waiting for the right moment to act. That moment is now. What you're holding isn't a threat. It's not a weapon. It's knowledge, dangerous, yes, but essential. Project Arcturus began as a simple surveillance operation. It ended as something I still can't explain. This object, this craft, was encountered during a classified Arctic mission. It displayed propulsion physics we don't understand, energy emissions we can't trace, and intentions we still can't confirm. We brought back data, footage, and sensor logs. Most of it was buried. Some of it I kept, not to betray my country, but to protect it, because I knew one day someone would need the truth. That someone is you. You were the only leader who listened without laughing, the only one who asked, 'What if you're right?' That stuck with me. And so, I trust you now to decide what to do with this information. But be warned, if you go public, you won't be believed at first. They'll call you a madman, a manipulator. But if you do nothing, the next time we see one of these crafts, it might not be alone. I've done what I can. The rest is yours. RB." When Trump finished reading, he didn't speak immediately. He read the letter again. Then again. The room was heavy with the weight of his silence. The advisors around him shifted uneasily, sensing the magnitude of what had just been placed in their hands. Finally, Trump laid the letter down and reached for the final object, the photograph. It was old but sharp. The scene was unmistakably Arctic, a barren landscape of ice, snow, and distant mountains. In the center of the photo hovered an object, oval-shaped, smooth, metallic, no wings, no visible engines, no markings except one. X-77R, restricted, stamped faintly in the corner. In the background, partially obscured by a snowstorm, were figures in military gear. U.S. personnel, likely part of Beckett's team. One man in the image was circled in red ink. Handwritten beneath it were the words, Sergeant Keller, last to engage. What does that mean? One of the advisors asked. I think it means someone made contact, Trump said, and maybe someone can come back. Trump turned the photo over. On the back, written in Beckett's careful handwriting, was a single phrase. It responded, no explanation, no context, just that. The implications were staggering. Responded? To what? A signal? A voice? A weapon? Did the craft communicate? And if so, what did it say? Trump ordered a secure laptop brought in. The USB drive was inserted carefully, and encryption specialists began the slow task of accessing its contents. The drive required a second password. Trump entered a phrase from the letter. What if you're right? The screen lit up. Inside the drive were dozens of encrypted folders. Flight data, infrared video footage, sound logs, even radar echoes. One folder contained a voice recording labeled Keller_transmission.wave. Another, a compressed file marked classified, not for analysis. The footage was too large to review instantly. Trump ordered a full scan and backup. But as the files loaded, one thing became clear. This wasn't fiction. This wasn't a prank. Beckett had delivered something real. Perhaps the most real thing the world had never known. Trump stood at the head of the table, holding the letter in one hand and the photo in the other. He looked to his team and said, what we do next will decide everything. What happens next? No one knows exactly what Trump plans to do with the contents of the box. Some insiders say he's considering going public with the information, perhaps in a carefully timed broadcast or interview. Others believe he may use it as leverage, politically or globally. But one thing is certain. Since the moment the box was opened, Trump has not been the same. Sources inside Mar-a-Lago say the former president has spent hours locked in his private study, replaying audio logs, studying the Arctic photo, and reading Beckett's letter over and over again. His usual routine, golf outings, phone calls, campaign planning, has taken a backseat. The man known for always being in motion is now sitting still, thinking deeply and speaking very little. The room where the box was open has since been converted into a temporary command center. Blackout blinds remain closed. Additional Secret Service agents have been stationed outside. A team of cybersecurity experts, brought in under strict NDAs, work around the clock analyzing the files on the Project Arcturus USB drive. The data is heavily encrypted and fragmented, a puzzle within a puzzle, but even early glimpses have shocked those permitted to view them. Thermal scans showing aircraft that move with no visible propulsion. Radio frequencies repeating codes in patterns not known to any Earth-based language. And the most chilling of all, a 5-second video clip showing the craft in motion. It didn't fly. It glided silently, cutting through snow and cloud like water through air, then vanished without a trace. Trump, according to those closest to him, is torn. He knows the explosive nature of what he holds. If he releases the footage, the world will be forced to confront questions that have haunted humanity for decades. Are we alone? Are we being watched? And if so, why has it been kept secret for so long? But he also knows the risks. Releasing the information could trigger panic. Trust in the government, already shaky, could collapse. Military officials may try to discredit the material. Worse, global adversaries could weaponize the discovery, not by using the technology, but by using the chaos it causes. Some believe Trump is planning a reveal moment, a primetime address or documentary-style special, where he'll lay out everything Beckett entrusted him with. There are even rumors that media producers have been contacted under the radar to prepare a platform for the potential broadcast. Others, however, believe Trump may never reveal it, not fully. Instead, he might choose to hold the truth close, using it as strategic leverage during sensitive negotiations, legal battles, or even future political campaigns. Imagine the weight of being the only man with proof of non-human technology and the power to decide when, where, and how the world learns about it. Whatever path he chooses, one thing is clear. Trump isn't treating this like a one-time surprise. He's treating it like a mission. The intelligence community, meanwhile, has gone into overdrive. Whispers of Project Arcturus are circulating behind closed doors. The Pentagon has reportedly activated dormant surveillance programs to track down General Raymond Beckett, who, as of now, remains missing. Interpol has issued quiet alerts. His last known location, a secure hangar in Alaska, has been placed under 24-hour satellite monitoring. But Beckett is a man who knows how to disappear. After all, he taught others how to do it. Some believe he's still in the U.S., moving through remote territories, watching the events unfold from a distance. Others suspect he's left the country entirely, perhaps using unregistered transport tied to black-budget operations. Regardless, his silence speaks volumes. Beckett delivered the information, and now he's waiting to see what Trump does with it. The public, too, is starting to ask questions. A photo of the box has leaked onto an anonymous message board. The image was quickly taken down, but not before it was downloaded, shared, and reposted across social media. Hashtags like #TrumpBox, #BeckettFiles, and #Project Arcturus are trending globally. Conspiracy theorists, UFO researchers, and political commentators are all speculating. Some believe it's the biggest story in human history. Others think it's a carefully orchestrated hoax. But the truth? It's locked away, for now, in the quiet corridors of Mar-a-Lago. And behind the scenes, powerful forces are preparing for every possible outcome. Will Trump come forward with undeniable proof that we are not alone? Will he challenge the secrecy of the military-industrial complex? Or will he wait, holding the secret as a card to play at the perfect moment? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. The contents of that box and the man who sent it have set something irreversible in motion. A chain reaction not just in politics, but in history. What happens next could change the world forever.